morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's From Boxes to Butterflies. I know this is going to be a wild show today. It's going to be fun. Uh, but, as always, before I get into it, I want to go through some of the announcements, the sponsors, and just kind of get things ramped up, leveled up. And as always, the first thing I want everybody to do, because this is so important, is check on those around you. Check on those, especially, there are going to be those people in your life who they went through something recently or even months ago that they still have to deal with. And too often, it's like something happens to somebody, everybody shows up for the first short period of time, and then it kind of slows away, but they're still dealing with it. So check in, even if it's just a kind word, see how they're doing, be there to listen. Remember, so many of us, we really know how to wear a mask that says we're fine when we're not. So be aware of those around you. In terms of my sponsors, I always love to start with my amazing sister at Level Up Academy, Dr. Constance Leland. She does so much, and it's amazing what she can get done in a short amount of time. I've been so blessed to have her in my life. She's been such an amazing friend and sister. But with Level Up Academy, her whole focus is to level up the world through education. And she works on that in so many ways. There's so many ways that she can level up. Classes, publicity. She's got TV show, podcast. And we're doing our third anthology this year. So right now we're in the midst of the writing process for that anthology. But one of the things I really want to highlight for her is publicity. She has access to premium magazines, to, like I said, TV, radio. And it's like, yeah, she has an internet radio station on two channels. And she's always there to support the community, bring people onto her shows, lift them up. So if you are ready to promote something that you're doing, get out there, put your amazing self, put your amazing items, whatever you're selling or books, put out there, touch base with her, reach out to her. The QR code is down in the bottom right corner, and I leave it on my screen when my guest will come up. She's got access to so many different industries. She also knows how to get discounts, because when it comes to premium magazines, and she's gotten me in some, she knows how to get a discount. And then suddenly you find yourself around the world. Another one is the Hounds of Business. With the Hounds of Business, reach out to Mike Ashbrainer. This is a community that the focus is collaboration over competition. It's something CJ says all the time. I love it. It's amazing. Here is an opportunity. Touch base with the Hounds, because there's so many people in there, and find those ways to collaborate, to boost everybody up. As I said, CJ and I, we got this, her new anthology, because she's leading this one, Rebel with a Cause. We're in the writing process right now. It's going to come out in just under a month. It will come out next month. It's going to be a lot of fun. CJ and I were reading chapters right now of of our writers, and there are really some powerful stories of rebels in this book. So when it comes out, and we'll be announcing that as well, you're not going to want to miss this, because if you wanted to know how to become a rebel, if you are a rebel or you feel it inside but you're kind of stuck in a box, this is going to be a great way to see how other rebels have stepped up, moved out, and are there to support those around them as well. Their story is not just being a rebel, it's how do they help others. We also have a book club, and this is a very different type of book club. This is not the, here's a book, read it, and let's talk about it. No. That's old school. CJ has leveled up book clubs. This book club is to get classes from CJ and I. We're there to take you through classes on storytelling, writing, how you're going to do creative writing, podcasting, making a writing plan, branding, marketing, everything around books, publishing. That's what we do. So part of being in this book club is we have one class. We will record one class every month. And then at the end of the month, we will have a Zoom call where everybody can get onto the Zoom call with us who's a member of the book club to answer questions, talk about writing. So you get us for an hour to ask those questions because we want you to level up your writing. Move beyond whatever box is holding you back. So this is the book club. And for those who are with us for 10 months, 10 consecutive months, and we started last month, but if you pop in now, you can pay for last month's, get its course. Because when you're with us for 10 months, you get access to being in our next anthology after that for free. I know some people are like, why do you have to pay for an anthology? You don't know how much time goes into this. It's an endeavor of the heart because we put a lot into this. We are there we're doing the editing, the marketing. And in this particular anthologies, when you're going through Level Up, when you go through our anthologies, you have an opportunity to have your message broadcast on TV, on podcasts. So there's a lot to it. A lot of stuff that other people don't have. And then I know this was a week ago, but I just want to take a moment and talk about our dear sister Jess, because she was going to be in this anthology. And the loss hit many of us so hard, and we're getting past it. But it's not easy because she's such a beautiful soul. And those of us who had a chance to talk with her, to be with her, to meet her, she was a celestial light. That's really the way I love to describe her. She's a light in the sky, and it will always be there with us. And so much about this anthology that we're doing, Rebel with a Cause, because she was a rebel. We're dedicating this to our dear sister Jess. CJ's working everything on it. She was amazing. She is amazing. And so just want to keep her in our hearts and thoughts. And the last thing, because it really fits everything I've talked about, is the importance when we look at people and when we talk with people. There's so much love out there, but there's so many words that you kind of sit back and you go, what are they saying? Because so many people talk about being heart-centered this, heart-centered that. And then you kind of see what they're doing, and it's you kind of question. My dear sis, she came up with a new term, and I absolutely love this term because it really resonates with me. The concept of being soul-hearted. When you are soul-hearted, this is your authentic self that is done being in a box. This is your authentic self that is going to step out into the world as who you're created to be. So when you lead with your soul, being soul-hearted with your authentic self, you can do so much good in this world, and people feel it. They're not just seeing it, they really do feel it. So I just kind of wanted to close this little piece about with the pre-show announcements, as it were, with let's all be soul-hearted. Think about it. It's a beautiful thing. And with that, and I see there's so many people here. It's so beautiful to see everybody. And there's a couple that are going to show up as LinkedIn when I show these names. So if it just says LinkedIn, if you see it, please let us know who you are, because we want to recognize everybody. But now I need to bring up my dear sister and watch the energy just dial up some more.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Exactly. It is. I always say good morning because it is always morning someplace.
True story. True
And that
story.
way, when it's nighttime and somebody looks at me like, huh? I just look at them and go, it's always morning someplace, so I can't be wrong. Doesn't matter.
5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Thank you
Like
for this
everybody.
platform. It's beautiful and it's safe and it lets you be so comfy.
Right. It has to be pink. It's like it has to be pink.
I said it was safe, but yes, I do like all the pink.
And it's a lot of fun. And I know I can just I don't even have to see comments. I already know what CJ is saying when I say it's a lot of fun, because she's the one that told me you're going to do this, and I told her no, I'm not. And the thing is, you don't say no to CJ.
No, you
And
don't.
and she knows me so well. She just goes, yeah, you are. And then, yeah, I did. So, and
But the
I'm
good thing though, CJ sees things in people. I think, at least my experience, like she sees things in me that I struggle to even see for myself. And I don't think it's like a bad thing when they're like, oh, you won't say no to CJ. It's more like she's going to push you beyond your comfort zone, but in a way that if you fall, I'm going to catch you.
Yeah. No. I mean, our connection is really close because she is the first person in my life that not only would say they had my back or say they were there for me, she was. And it just brought us closer. And I trust her with everything. Because if I didn't, I would not be in pink hair today.
Oh my goodness. It's like a lot of people have a lot of words. A lot of people say a lot of things. I mean, but you have to like it's when those paths are aligned with the words and the actions that you get that sense of safety and genuineness. And it's really like it was like a universal alignment with you guys.
Mm-hmm. We had that alignment, and it really connected on one thing. The initial connection was the butterfly effect. And when I say butterfly effect, it is as written by Ray Bradbury in The Sound of Thunder, a short story, a time travel short story. Mm-hmm. It's not the butterfly flaps its wings in Thailand and creates a hurricane in Florida.
Mhm.
But having Harsha on last week, I got a nice way of viewing that one in terms of how words are spoken. So it's like, okay, I like that. For me though, it's looking at my past, and when you think about everything you've gone through from the beginning until now, would you change anything?
Mm-mm. No,
That's the butterfly effect. I would
no.
not change one thing because I can look in the mirror now and say, I love who I see. I could
Mhm.
not do that. And I could not do that for a half a century.
I can so relate to that. My entire life has been fight or flight. It has always been survival mode from my first memories. And then I would say like the 20s, there was a lot of pity parties. Why me? Like what I need to change this. I wish this didn't happen. But then like now where I am, like you said, come to now, when I look back on it, I realize had I not been put through everything that I've been put through, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I love who I am today. So like I don't want to change who I am today. And those experiences, as hard as they may have been or hurtful, like they were necessary.
Yeah. And it is the hardest thing when we look back. It's hard when we're going through it.
Mhm.
And that's why I talk about boxes so much, because we know we're stuck in a box. We know who's running the show, because we're not. It's either another person, or it's our fear, it's concerns about society, whatever.
Yeah.
But it ain't us. We're not in
No.
control. That's why we're in the stupid box. And for those who like to talk niching and all that, it's like, I have issues with, I can't niche either, but
No, I can't either.
it's like, it's just, and I know somebody who really wants me to do a couple of things. It's like, yes, sis, we'll figure that one out. But it's when you start getting awareness, when you ignite that awareness that you don't have to stay in the spot. You can change the rules. You can change your situation. It may not be as fast as you want, but you can do it. And
Yeah.
that's what I say, if knowing, because you know what to do. You know you shouldn't eat that piece of pie. You know you should go for a walk. You know you should maybe go back to school or whatever. You know, but knowing doesn't mean you do. So if knowing is half the battle, because that is a saying, then awareness is the first step. And
Yeah.
that's what gets you out of the box.
When I actually started watching your YouTubes, because obviously, I had to learn who you was. And then I like was curious about your boxes theory, so I was digging. And what I take from your boxes theory is that I'm about to shatter the ceilings because I want to take all my boxes and build a fort and let my inner child come out and run through them all.
I like that. I like that because I will say that um, no box can define me.
Mhm.
And because I could be put in multiple boxes, all of those boxes combined can't define me.
Yeah.
And it goes for everybody else.
That's my
Goes
whole
for
life. I've always been told what to do, what has to happen. Like, I
bingo.
think it's the worst when you're a child. Like, if you're a child going through medical adversities, that is probably one of the worst ones because, well, your parents are your voice, they're in control, right? So when you're laying in a hospital bed and you're surrounded by doctors and nurses and people like saying, we're going into surgery, you have to do this. My life, all my memories started and they're there with, and then basically through my life is people telling me what I have to do, what I can't do, what I can't do, why I can't do things. And then I'm the one that's defiant, sitting back like, why not? Why not? And then questioning things. And then what I found, through the late teen years and early 20s is I had all these questions and all these things that I just wanted to understand. And there was nobody to ask.
Yeah. And I totally resonate with that because I know my history is very similar in that I had nobody to ask. I had nobody to talk to because I I got shut down at the age of 7.
Mhm.
So it's like that was a moment. Something happened at that point, and that's when I withdrew from family. That's when I withdrew from friends, and then basically everything.
Mhm.
Makes me
In our
wonder how
childhood,
I got where
you
I'm
don't
at.
know it. You don't even realize the impact your childhood has on you as an adult.
No.
I didn't realize that there was an inner child that needed healing and love and just embracing, and probably until like early 30s. It wasn't until then that I'm like, oh, oh, what is this feeling? What is it like? What is like, and then working through like with PTSD, like, well, complex PTSD and PTSD, they have to be treated differently. So when I was being treated for PTSD, nothing was like really getting healed. But then when I had a therapist like explain the difference and then treat it differently, like that's when I started realizing that I had to go about it in a different way. And it wasn't until then that like healing really, 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 truly began, because then I was like you. Children are heard, they're not seen. We don't talk about it. It's spilt milk, it's cleaned up, it's gone. And with me, it was one of those along that path somewhere. Nobody ever told me about emotions and why I was feeling things and what it was for, or how to make it better. It was, don't cry. Stop it. I don't want to hear it. And now to this day, if somebody's crying around me, I won't give them a tissue. Let it out. Cry. We're going to cry together. But then moving forward, I don't want to talk about it ever again. I want to talk about the solution. What can we do to make it better? What can we do to ensure this moment does not take you over again?
Yeah. And childhood is just like you said, it just ingrains everything. Um, and I have my own squirrels right now. It's like, okay, now I understand those squirrels because um, it's like I can hear stuff. I'm looking at stuff, and suddenly my mind goes off somewhere else. It's like, okay, I got to bring it back. And it's like, thank you, CJ,
Mhm.
because it would not
Yeah.
have been diagnosed. And yet I sit here and go, it's like, okay, I know I've kind of shifted somewheres here, but it's what happens because I do have ADHD. And so,
Me
so it's
too.
like, okay, wait a minute, I just missed something, and the squirrels went. So I think what I want to do now then to reel things back a little bit is have you talk a little bit about yourself, because we've talked boxes,
Well,
we've talked friends, we've talked butterfly effect, and all of this kind of touches on, but for, talk a little bit about you and what you want people to get out of your story.
this is definitely like the new aspect of me for like doing guest appearances and things now, because like I've always had a problem. I don't like it to be about me. Like even like when Keith and I are
Yeah.
doing our events, it's for other people. So but I'm Michelle. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I don't have family support. I have very limited friends, but that's kind of by choice because I've learned, you know, it's not the quality, or it's not the quantity, it's the quality. Like, so I would rather have a fewer in my village that are truly, supportive versus some snakes in the garden, getting ready to destroy it. But I started an organization. It's called Don't Raise Statistics. Basically, the name of it's self, explanatory. Like my entire life, statistics have been against me, like medically, just across the board, educational, everything. And for me, every time I was reaching out for support, looking for resources, or simply just needed somebody to talk to, it wasn't available. I either didn't meet the criteria to receive the support, funding wasn't available, the resources were capped, or simply it didn't exist. A lot of organizations and communities are pretty black and white, like this is what it is, this is what we do. But what I've learned is that I'm not black and white, and I'm not really the rainbow. Like I'm in that gray area as far as, things that need addressed and help. And so that's where don't raise statistics come. Like, there should not ever be a human, not even just the US, the whole world. Nobody should feel alone. Nobody should feel like there's not just one simple place to turn to. And so that's with don't raise statistics. Like, ultimately, the overall goal is just thousands of community centers across the world. And then I built it in a model sense that what's generated revenue wise is that communities, and it goes back into the community to keep, fueling, the sustaining the growth and, empowering the community. My daughter, like, she's brilliant. She is neurodivergent. We have a lot of little specialties that we focus on with her, anywhere from vision therapies. We have food therapy. She has an eating disorder. And that's like a thing with don't raise statistics. You're always hearing about like bulimia, anorexia. But then when you ask somebody like, well, have you ever heard of ARFID? And then they just kind of look at you like, what's that? But I think a lot of society, they're so focused on where narratives are controlled. I've taken it as like my obligation and my duty to create awareness. Like, my daughter's eating disorder might not be like the bulimia or the anorexia, but a company of one of her preferred foods, they could do something as simple as, which we learned this during COVID, they could change the packaging of their food. My child will starve herself simply because the package is not what she's accustomed to. But there's not awareness around these things, like smells, textures, taste. So like, and then throughout this process and with her, growing and transitioning, I've learned that a lot of educational systems are not inclusive. So like, really it's just like advocating for a lot. Where I live at, we experienced a horrible tragedy last year. February last year, my daughter and I lost everything in a fire. We were misled about renter's insurance. 18 other families were displaced as well. So for the last 19 months, I was really alone in this battle. Just like, at first, the justice, I would say it was like anger, retaliation, like, how could you do this? And then over the months of, not receiving help and support and like, well, this isn't okay. And I kept going. Now it's like my idea of justice, when you ask about justice all the time, it's either going to be about like the perpetrator going to like prison or something like that, or it's about like the plaintiff is like seeking some type of financial compensation. For myself, the justice is like, I need this corporation to take accountability and I need them to fix what they did wrong. The money aspect, like when you lose things that money can't buy, there's no amount of money in the world I could be given that will let me go reprint my ultrasound pictures. There's no money in the world that's going to give me back like the outfit I brought her home from the hospital. So for me, justice is more symbolic, I think. But that's what I do. Like I've been trying to learn, I guess, my personal brand and who I am and everything. And, people tell me like, you're an advocate, you're an activist. You do. And in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm not. This is just wrong. And so like, it's really like, I'm trying to take it as my own and be comfortable with it. But it's, like myth, pact, and hope, like between our parents, our kids, and our homes, like we have to build communities that are supportive and not, they need to be inclusive. We can't have organizations and people in influential leadership roles sitting behind boardroom doors, making decisions about the people in the margins that they're not even talking to. Like I come from those margins. I want to change those margins. Like I engage with people in these margins on a basis. Like you have to talk to them. But I mean, that's really just who I am. I single mom that truly believes I'm going to change the world.
I love it. That's what you have to do. You believe it. Mm-hmm. And when you believe it, it's going to happen. It's like, what is it?
I've always been told, you're dreaming too big. It's not possible. Why would you think you could do that? Why do you think you deserve this? And always at the end of the day, the question is like, well, why not me? I don't sit in pity parties no more. It isn't why me. It's why not me. Why? Let me hand you this business model. with all my statistics, all my data. Yeah, I don't have a college degree, but that doesn't, I'm not illiterate. I can read, I can, witness. You look at this and you tell me why it won't work. That's simple. If you could tell me why it won't work, I'm gonna just take it and edit it, and so it will work.
Exactly. No, I like that, because that's basically you're making your perception a reality. You know, you know what you expect. You know what you can do. Just make it happen.
Yeah. I learned a long time ago, ain't nobody coming to save me. I got to save myself. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, I like what you're talking about, with a world full of statistics and everything. Everything has a statistic to it for good or bad. And the other problem is you can cherry pick the statistics you want for whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. But you can't change the data. You can't change the factual evidence.
No, you can't change the data, but you can go back
You
and
create
say,
systems that make it better.
create systems to make it better. But I've seen it where some people they will cherry pick the data from whatever survey, whatever that fits the narrative they want, even if they have to go back in time to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's another
Kind
thing
of
that we need to do.
I don't like controlled narratives. I don't. I want the whole picture.
Exactly. And that's what we should have. We should be having the whole picture of this is what's happening, and for those who feel like they have to go back in time to find what meets what they want the narrative to be, to make sure that you're saying, well, that may have been what people thought then. However, look at how much we've changed over however much the period of time is. This is the reality. And the thing is, we're always changing. We're always evolving. You can't stick humanity in a place in the past and expect everybody to just agree to stay in the past.
Right. My favorite example is like when I'm trying to explain basically what you're saying, people is like, think back to like 3rd century Maya civilization. Look what was documented to what they did, forming community, forming recreation sports, forming a village. Even when you go from that to 9th century to Baghdad, they came together as a community and built a perfect 4-mile circle village. And then that gets me to current day. Like, look at the possibilities with collaboration over competition. The competition is going to destroy these villages. Why would you not want to nourish your neighbor? Why would you not want to? Maybe you might need a cup of sugar from that neighbor one day. Like, why would you break the bond to even be able to get something so simple?
Yeah, it's everybody is really the same, no matter what some people might want to try and say is different.
Yep.
Bottom line, you cut us and everybody bleeds the same color.
I've been thinking, like, because like everybody thinks blood is red, but it only turns red once it hits the air and it gets the oxygen, right? I always wanted to know if it was possible going one of those like hyperbaric chamber things and like see if it would bleed blue.
No, you just need to go back to, what is it? There was a movie in the 60s where they basically shrunk down a little mini submarine, injected it into somebody, and so it was going through the bloodstream, and then turn the light on and see what it looks like.
Oh my God, that just made me think of the Magic School Bus from when I was a kid. They went up the nose, I think. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's yeah. I think my mind, it's like you would say with ADHD. It'll be like I'll be working on one thing, but in my mind there's like 50 million things happening, and it's yeah.
No, yeah, I get that too, because it happens to me all the time, which is why a certain somebody told me to go get checked, and then it's like, Yeah, it's confirmed.
I mean, you see this wall behind me. This is just like the top 10 thoughts. Like the
But you
top 10 things that occupy my mind. I keep them like this on a vision wall so that I can address them while other things can rent space.
well, and you said something else too that I kind of want to go back to because I completely understand it is when companies change their packaging, change their because they're always trying to make it there's for some reason there's like this need to have to be new, to be better, to be
Mhm,
to find a new way to differentiate yourself. And
mhm.
I just kind of sit back and go, but I don't want that. I'm very I may not go to the point of I won't pick it up off the shelf necessarily, but
Mhm.
there are times I don't want to see the new package. I want what I'm used to because there's also a comfort factor to it.
Yep. And I think that's
Maybe
what it
this
is with my daughter, that comfort of knowing what she's getting visually. And then it's when I was building the model of don't raise statistics, like, and then knowing these very specific needs of my daughter, because like, you know, it's not just the food, it's the vision therapy. So I have a condition called malignant hypothermia. Um, for me, that's a constant in the back of my mind is if there's an accident and I need to go into an emergency surgery, am I going to be vocal to speak this? Like that could kill me. I think for me,
correct.
the most scariest part was my daughter's first surgery was at 2 years old. And the triggering of, they gave her the anesthetics, the fever started going to 105, an overnight stay for a procedure, a surgical procedure. We ended up being in the hospital 10 days. They had to get her body temperature down. They had to so for me, when I built Don't Raise Statistics, it was literally like, I want to look at it the way I think my daughter would look at it, like the visual, the audio, the text, the taste, like, and because each area is going to be different, yet they need to be alike enough to be cohesive with each other.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
It's just it's so much them comfort zone. Like you have to be safe and trusting of where you're at when your comfort zone has to be removed, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. It's like it's being kicked out of the comfort zone when you can't afford to be kicked out of the comfort zone. It's
Mhm.
one thing to be pushed. It's like I know what it's like. I know what both are like. It's one
Yep.
thing to have a gentle push that gets you beyond the comfort zone, but to just have it yanked from you.
Just thrown to the wolves. Yeah. And like with Don't Raise Statistics, like if so, like I know how much humility I faced in different moments that I had to ask for help. So like I don't want somebody to be coming to me seeking that form of support and then but internally they're like what we're describing, that uncomfort, that, you know, reluctantness, because we already know when you're facing things that you need to be seeking help, like obviously you're not in a good place in life.
Right.
Obviously something's not okay. So like I try to ensure that I'm doing everything I can possibly do or have known to even experience to know to do, like to make it comfortable, because you're already leery, you're already hesitant.
A lot of yeah. It's like pushing somebody in to swim. It's like, oh, just go do it. No, it
Mhm.
doesn't work that way.
And you know what I don't, I have a major issue is when individuals, they either it's my way or the highway. This is my opinion and I'm forcing it down you. Or they can't even be open or understanding that everything's not cookie cutter.
Right.
But what it really gets me is when like I feel like I'm constantly having to validate or fight for my integrity and my character. And like I don't like those things either. It's like, go push me in to go swim. I had to learn to do tread water on my own, like don't question why I do what I do, how I do. I'm very comfortable with who I am and I love who I am. And I found my voice. Like, you're never gonna take it. Like, don't tell me to pick sides. Don't tell me it has to be this way. Don't tell me it's got to be blue because I did it pink. Like, I don't know. Go do it yourself.
That's just it. If you think it has to be something else, then you do it.
Mm-hmm. And then tell me, because I want to support you. Like, if I have the energy and time and resources, let me know. Like, I don't want to compete with you. I'm not going to take my style and switch it up just because I seen what you did. Now, some people do that with me, and I might see my style attempting to be replicated somewhere. And I would say in the beginning, it was probably triggering. Now I kind of take it as flattery and a compliment because obviously I'm doing something that you are envious enough that you're trying to change who you are. And I think I'm a great person. So by all means, please.
Well, I think that's probably what a lot of these people who are trying to tell us, no, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way. It's probably a reflection of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's no instruction, up front that says you have to do it this way because that is the best way. There are times it's the only way. But when somebody else comes up and you've done it, you've accomplished what you're going to do, and somebody else comes in and says, "Oh, you did it wrong. You're supposed to do it this way. You're supposed to do it that way." It's more of a reflection on them
Mm-hmm.
because of whatever knowledge they do or don't have versus us who we did it to our best of our ability and we're not going to change the way we are.
Right. What I've learned is that when that situation is happening for me, usually I'm being told it's not right by somebody that has that expensive piece of paper from sitting 4 to 8 years at a college. And because they did that, but then you sit there and you're just like, have you lived through what I lived through? Like, I got first-hand experience. I'm telling you, that plan is not gonna work. Like, take it. Like, I've lived it. Like, and then that's what, for me, that's what's so important about the community impact. I've lived, like, when you live at poverty or below poverty, and then you learn systemic injustices, and then you learn how to fix them and things like that, like, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable and to fully trust yourself. And there's so many years I didn't trust myself. I just sat in the corner and did what I was told to do. Like, I did, but it can't be that way, especially if we want a whole entire world that is inclusive. You have to be open to cultures. You have to be open to differences. You have to be understanding. You have to be able to actively listen without speaking. So many people I've come to want to listen to you just to talk. Sometimes you don't need that.
There's too much of that. You hear it everywhere. The people that you swear the only reason they open their mouth and make a comment is because they want to hear their voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it doesn't add to the conversation. It doesn't answer a burning question. It doesn't do anything other than
productive.
Yeah, it's not productive because all it does is just somebody thinks they have a voice, but nothing's coming out. It's moving and there's lots of noise, but nothing's coming out.
So for myself, when I was in that broken area of life, there was lots of noise coming out, but it's like you said, everything I was projecting was my own insecurities, my own misunderstandings. Because once you learn who you are, and once you love who you are, and once you are committed to talking and walking the same path, everything changes. And then you are able to speak in a way that you don't hurt others with your words. I was projecting in conversations, wanting to hurt them because they weren't understanding me trying to describe how I was hurting. Well, let me hurt you. Let me show you what this feels like. And what I learned through the years, and ultimately what led to the family estrangement, full no contact. I have no relationship with any biological family, is because over this growing phase, I would say, when there would be confrontations and the dysfunction was horrible, it was us screaming. We're trying to obviously hurt each other. But then I had to come to a moment where I said, okay, Michelle, you got to stop. Listen to them. What are they yelling at you about? So I would take in pieces of things they would tell me I was doing wrong, what I was bad at, and I started changing it. So then get a decade into it, the same fights and confrontations are happening. And the only thing that's changed is me. Everything that you guys would accuse me of, everything that would end up being the root causes of the arguments, you no longer have that ammunition to throw at me. But you don't want to hear what is wrong from my perception about you. And you don't want to do anything to commit to accountability for yourself. I'm going to be accountable. I will say it to your face. I'll say it in a text. I'll say it. I don't care where. If I said it, I will own it. But I also learned throwing those daggers was not getting anything except more hurt.
Yeah, the difference between us on that is I was not one that could throw the daggers. I just basically curled up, felt like I was a bother to everybody. And I mean, after a couple weekends ago, I had my own nosedive because of a lot of my past just flooding over me. Plus, that Saturday happened to be would have been my mom's 80th birthday. Mm-hmm. And next Tuesday will be the 4th anniversary of her passing. And she's the first person that, when she passed, that death hit me hard. Mm-hmm. Out of like 55 years, that's the first one to hit me. And part of that's just growing up with the family I had. All I learned was to stay in the background, feel like a bother, feel like I'm the problem for everything, and then the memory of how death has always been kind of sitting on my shoulder, because when I drove to drill every month, and it was twice a month, and I went over the mountains, so going in one direction especially, it would have been so easy to just do a quick jerk on the steering wheel. And the only thing that kept me from doing it was because this voice in my head was like, yeah, but if you fail, then you'll be an even bigger bother. You'll be an even bigger problem. So it's like, okay, I guess that doesn't make, if you can't guarantee, then that part. But yeah, I've dealt with that.
You have to put yourself first, you know? Like, I used to do that so much. Like, I always worried what other people thought. What would they have to deal with? What I had to learn how to start pouring into my cup. I'm worth this, which I still struggle with self-worth. Me and CJ talk about it, but you know, a lot of people, but like you have to like come to a point. Like, it's not that you're wanting to die. It's, do you want to live? And if you want to live, what does it look like for you to be living your best life? Because nobody can tell you that. Nobody can tell you what your best life looks like and feels like, because it's going to be different. Everybody, that's why God gave us fingerprints, you know, like we have a very unique print. Like, what is your best life look like? And I'll do that a lot. And it's important to make sure that when you ask it, it's an open-ended question in the sense they have to answer it. You can't answer that for somebody.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the voices are there because we need our voices, and unfortunately, it is so hard to let go of, or it's so hard to make that change, because you're doing a 180-degree change when you let your voice be heard in that meaningful way.
For myself, like, I've come to situations where, like, especially like this last 18-month period, is I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. And in my mind, it's like, why do you want to do? You've come this far? What is going to happen if you quit now? You know, like, how the people that you're fighting for, that don't even know you're fighting for them, or even know that they're being violated, like, what would continue happening to them? And what I think a lot of people going into the self journey or an advocacy journey, any of it, like, there's not a destination. And I think that might either be why people maybe give up or get, very overwhelmed or discouraged, is because a lot of people might begin thinking like, I'm gonna start and I'm gonna make it to there and it's gonna be beautiful. I mean, this has been a 13-14 year journey, and let me tell you, like, I still haven't found the destination, but there's been some really, really amazing stops through the way.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we have to always remember, are those amazing stops. Those are lights on the path. It's kind of like the street lights at night, because we can have
dark
those
and it came on a little bit.
Exactly. You hit this point and you get this bright spot, and so it's like driving at night. For me anyway, where if I'm on roads that are it's so dark, all I have are the headlights. It can still be a little bit nerve-wracking trying to navigate, even if you've driven the road over and over and over. But when you get those lights, even infrequently, there's like that calming effect. Here's a bright spot. Here's something. Here's a high point. A little bit of a recharge, and then keep going.
Yep. Keep going. That's it. Keep going. Or like, even, you're on that road trip and the storm, you can't see through the rain. Pull over. Don't shut the car off, but idle. It's like, and I had to learn that, like, because there was many moments in this journey where I thought I was stuck. I thought this was the end, but the reality was I was idling. I wasn't going backwards and I wasn't stuck. It was just a moment I needed to sit there a little bit longer.
Right. No, it's like you say that, and I remember I'm the one that actually kept going through the rain. Literally.
I mean, I do too, usually.
It was a thunderstorm. I was driving through Illinois, and it was one of those downpours where the wipers are going as fast as they can and almost not making any difference. And then every time you go under an overpass, you see cars lined up under the overpass, because they're just sitting there on the side waiting for the rain to let up. And then you get through the overpass, it's like torrential downpour again. And
oh my God, I can relate.
I plan on getting there. I don't want to mess up my time schedule, but there's times you probably should have stopped. Or driving through Minnesota.
For me, that was a Cat 1 hurricane. For me, it was a Category 1 hurricane. I was like, I'm going. I'm not stopping.
Well, and the other one I did was because I'd been at my aunt and uncle's in Minnesota, and I took off. And this was before that torrential rainstorm through Illinois. It's like there's talk about watch out for tornadoes. So what am I doing? I'm looking for the tornadoes. I'm driving. It's like, where are they? I want to go see them.
That's me. Like, the curiosity will kill the cat. Let me tell you. Like, I want to know. I want to see it. There's like it's gonna drive me crazy if I don't know.
Yeah, it's that. Where is it? Where is it? It's got to be. They say it's around here. I got to keep going on this road, but it better show up. And what? And then you don't even think about what are you going to do if it pops up and is coming towards you? Like,
Just
I'm not
I'm gonna
thinking
take
about
it.
that.
Yeah, it's part of life. I guess I got to experience it. Like, let's go.
Oh, I like that. It's a
That's
new
how I got to
experience.
look at things. Like, I feel like it's, and it is not everybody believes in God or, whatever their creator, higher power is. Like, every morning that we open our eyes, like, the immediate thing should be gratefulness and thankfulness. But it's like, we don't control that. We don't know when our time is in. And I tell my daughter that all the time. Like, we are meant two things. We're going to die and we got to pay taxes, period. Like, so knowing these two things, how can I be the best mom to make you the best human in the world as far as contributing to others and giving back and being accountable and being productive? Like, and I think a lot of people, like, they don't like to talk about the whole death and all that. But I mean, like, it really needs to be a much more talked about thing because, like, it's inevitable. We are not going to live forever, period. And like, I think for myself, like, because I'm much younger in the sense, it's weird to say I'm 40, but I love it. I feel like I'm not even halfway old. But at 28 years old, I was the one having to sit in a lawyer office, creating a will, power of attorney, emergency guardianship of a child in my stomach, not even born yet, because of the realities of my life. Like, a surgery could kill me. And here I probably had more than 25 surgeries. And I know and these aren't cosmetic. Okay. This isn't voluntary surgeries. Like, I have to have them to save my life. So it's like, I go through, and then the first brain surgery of the 12 gave me epilepsy. And a lot of people don't realize you could die from a seizure. So for me, every day I get to wake up and be with my child is like, for me, that's a true blessing. Besides the fact I was told I would never have her. Now I got her, but then I get to wake up every day with her. And it's not to like bash her father or anybody. I don't understand because like there's so many people, like how you have this child and you just don't look in the eyes and instantly want to be better. And I know there's like lots of characters and variables that go into it. But for me personally, I would rather go through the worst days of my life learning how to make them better and get to be her mom.
Yeah, and I completely understand that because my daughter was adopted. So I remember the first time seeing her, holding her, and this was from China. So it's like being in China and that first moment. And the funny thing was, before that moment, I refused to use chopsticks. After that moment, I always had her sitting beside me, and I would even feed her congee with chopsticks.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a great mom. Like, look at that. And it's instant, isn't it? Like, instant.
But the other one is like, I had her potty trained on day 3. She was 10 or 11 months when we got her, but by the 3rd day, after that day, I think I had not more than a handful of messy diapers the whole time.
Congratulations. I struggled there. It's not that I struggled, like I think that was probably one of those first moments that I learned consistency and the importance of it didn't matter what I was doing at home. If other family was taking her and doing what they wanted to do, that's when I learned consistency because I had her potty trained probably around the same time, but then she came home after a weekend and it was gone.
Yeah, no, I won't go into the details of this particular story, but it was a very natural event.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
but there were some downsides to it because but hey, overall, she's freaking amazing, and I
Mhm.
absolutely adore her. And that's what our kids are. And it's like, oh crap, we're at an hour. We've
I
hit the
know
hour.
we did, and we talk all day, so it's crazy.
It's I've gotten used to it. So many conversations is like all of a sudden it's like, oh wait a minute, we've hit the hour. Oh shoot, we have to stop.
There could
But
be a part two.
I have a feeling there's a lot of part twos that are going to happen, and it's probably when things turn into, yes, CJ, when they turn into a podcast.
I know I got like so many people on me right now, so it's like the podcast is coming, the YouTube channel, like everything is it's beautiful. As much as I've been in the downpour for the last 2 years, and as much as it's been a struggle, there's so many beautiful moments to look back on. And then moving forward is like, I know I've been building a village of true people that love me, and they see things in me I don't see. And they're like, you're doing this, you're capable, you got a voice, let's go. And I just am embracing it. And I think the most rewarding part about it though is knowing that I'm going to continue facing these lows and these challenges, and I don't have to do it alone no more. I think that's probably the best part is I don't feel alone.
That is the best part. When you
Mhm.
know it's you don't feel it, I mean, we can know it, but actually feeling it is even more important than knowing it.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I'm
as
thankful you brought me.
as we get to the end of this, it's like if there's any other words of wisdom, golden nugget, however you want to call it, you want to
My
add,
knowledge nuggets.
make sure that works too, and make sure everybody knows how to find you.
Well, basically, you could go to Google and just type in Barber Beauty 413. Before I knew what an SEO was, I was like committed to making sure if you Google me, I'm Barber Beauty 413. It came back to me. But Facebook. I mean, I'm not really on the only platform I really utilize anymore is LinkedIn. But I mean, Don't Raise Statistics has a TikTok. Don't Raise Statistics has an Instagram. Michelle Ramos, Barber Beauty 413. You'll find me. And if you don't, just don't give up looking. Like keep searching, you'll find it. My knowledge nugget is probably going to be what I said earlier this week on a show. It's boundaries. You have to love yourself enough to you can't make them be accountable, but you need to enforce the boundary you set for yourself if they can't do what they should be doing that affects you. And I tell everybody, setting the boundary is not the hard part. It's enforcing the boundary that is the hard part.
Yeah, those, especially if you've got a really soft heart, it can be
Mhm.
so hard to say no. But there's
If you
times
wear
we
your
have
heart on your
to.
sleeve, it's all bad. It's you learn. You have to learn.
Exactly. Well, it's been great having you here. I loved it. I love the conversation. I love the friend. I love your soul. It's beautiful.
I love
So
yours.
thank you so much for being here. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes.
And for everybody else, I will see you all next Tuesday. I like this
Mhm.
Tuesday slot. I get Tuesday at 9. CJ gets Wednesday and Thursday at 9.
Hey, we listen, every day of the week is gonna be something.
Well, there's so many people. There's always going to be something going on. But this is a fun
Mhm.
time. I love
As
it.
long as we're giving back and it's positive, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And that is a great way to end everything. So I will see everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.